Hey man, so good to see you, my brother, Ken Smith. I am back from Jamaica, the beautiful Blue Mountains. I'm here with you to enjoy yet another wonderful episode of Ken's Corner.
Yes, I'm going to salute you early because we forgot 3 weeks ago. It's been a long time since we've been on. So hopefully people remember us. But yeah, you had your little journey and then I had my little journey to California. So it's been 3 weeks, I think.
Yeah. And somehow we still, as you came to California, we still haven't had a chance to meet each other.
No,
real.
Nope. You had to do something for Jacob, and I couldn't drive up later in the afternoon. So we thought we would do it. We thought we would get together, but we never did.
Well, someday, we're definitely going to do it. Now,
yes.
Another thing, today you have a shirt, and is that your dog?
Yes, it is. My dog is right here. And it's a whole bunch of shirts. It's a whole bunch of pictures of dogs. And it's one of the, I don't know, she's got like 11, 12 shirts that have her. But it says, all my best friends are dogs down at the bottom here. It says, all my best friends are dogs. Yeah. So I don't think I've worn this one before.
No, that is definitely a new one. This week we have no comments. But
yeah. They're a long time ago, they're 3 weeks ago. So, but I mean, I remember them all. They're the most of anybody. We got 70 comments, 80 comments every single week. So it's awesome. Keep them going, guys. Keep them going.
I think that's because we encourage them. We encourage your comments, even your negative comments.
Yes. I encourage them all. Yes. Let me know. But still remember to like, share, and comment. It's how the algorithms work. We're up to 39,900. We're right there. We're at 39,600, and this is on YouTube. I don't know what Rumble is. Rumble's like 2,000 or 3,000.
Almost 3,000.
Almost 3,000. Yeah, and it's funny how we get same amount of listeners on Rumble as we do on YouTube. So it's about 12, 13, 1,500, sometimes a couple thousand. But I just want to get to 40 before they shut us off.
You and me both. I've been working to get to 40 for a very long time.
Yep, so we'll get there. We'll get there.
I hope so. Now, one thing, Ken, for those that do not know, Ken is here to do Jamaican freestyle boxing to the news that has been festering while we've been gone. So, Ken, if you would, please provide that essential.
Hi-ya!
There it is.
We forgot last time you had to put it in. We forgot it last time. So
it's all right.
Thank you for that. Awesome.
So let's begin with the college protests. We talked a little bit about them on Catching Up with Jacob, but you provided a video that I think we should watch because it does illustrate something very important. So here we go. Wow. What is that? Big gray stacks
I think he knew what he was filming. He was trying to zoom into that one.
Oh, so wait. Let me just put that. Wow. That seems like there's a big stack of bricks.
A lot of them.
On a university.
Yep.
Just in time for a mass demonstration.
Yeah.
For Palestine. Now, let me ask you a question. This is just because I'm old fashioned, but it seems to me whoever bought those bricks and whoever on top of that delivered those bricks, if I were an FBI agent, I would look that up. Yeah. And on top of that, I probably would prosecute them with sedition because they're encouraging violence. Because remember, destruction of property is indeed violence.
Well, they showed up on the all the Antifa and BLM riots as well. And that's exactly what they did. They just had like pallets and pallets of bricks at each riot. So I just thought that was very interesting. Came across that. And I think that's one thing. You guys covered pretty much everything else, pretty much, the angles and stuff like that. But I just wanted to bring this up as far as with the protests. So, and they're sponsored. They're so sponsored. They're so,
Yes. Obviously, there's something fishy going on in Denmark when pallets of bricks are now being delivered just in time for an election.
In 2024, yes.
Let's talk about our next story though, because it kind of goes together.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. So, I matched them together. Yes.
So while we have bricks being given to Palestine anti-Israel protesters, at the same time, the one education, Christian education university, the biggest one, Grand Canyon University, the education secretary under Biden has promised to persecute Christians and shut it down.
Yeah, I mean, it's the largest. Yeah, I didn't know it was the largest, but I know it's in my state. It's Grand Canyon University here in Arizona. But the Department of Education Secretary Miguel Cardona vowed to shut down Grand Canyon University, which is the largest Christian university in the U.S. Cardona made comments during a House Appropriations Committee hearing and openly stated their enforcement methods. We are cracking down not only to shut them down, but to send a message to not prey on students. So I don't know what they're thinking, but there is a $37.7 million fine imposed. And just remember this, compare that to the $2.4 million fine that Penn State fined for failing to address the Jerry Sandusky debacle. Do you remember him? He was the guy who had 25 plus years of molesting kids and 2.4 million, and they want 37.7 million. So Grand Canyon University spokesman said officials continue to make derogatory and inflammatory public statements that are legally and factually incorrect. So the president of GCU, Grand Canyon University, has expressed that the university is being unfairly targeted. So get your popcorn out and see what happens.
Let's be honest, when you have an antichrist system like the Joe Biden administration, they might not be the antichrist, but surely they have the spirit of antichrist if they're going to go against Christian universities.
Yep. Largest one, shut it down.
Now, speaking about truth, this is another big thing with education. You cannot speak truth. Everything has to be said in such a way as to not cause offense from any possible corner. We all have to step on, it's not even step, we have to waltz on eggshells to make sure no protected group feels any type of discrimination verbally. Now, this is a prime example of a high school student that was suspended for saying a harmful, hate-filled word. What's that word? Illegal alien.
Yep. North Carolina high school student Christian McGee was suspended from school for saying the word illegal alien in a classroom. Isn't calling illegal alien an illegal alien? It's just a fact, right? So anyway, McGee was suspended for 3 days after doing an assignment in an English class. All right. So the teacher told the class to say a sentence with the word alien in it. McGee reportedly said, like space aliens or illegal aliens without green cards. So that's all he said. And the school determined the phrase was offensive and disrespectful to Hispanic students. So hold that in your mind, Hispanic students. I didn't make a statement directly towards anyone. I asked a question, McGee shot back. Illegal alien is an actual term that I hear on the news and can find in the dictionary, he also said. So let me just say right now, get your kids out of government indoctrination centers if you can. So my jiu-jitsu coach and his brothers and his sister are all homeschooled, and they're just different, man. I had a conversation maybe about 20 years ago, and this 9 and 6-year-old were at the table, and we literally had a grown-up conversation with this 9 and 6-year-old. They were homeschooled. This is back before it was like popular and stuff. So anyway, back to the story. So now Christian's mother, Christian is the guy, is concerned that he won't be able to get into college. He is devastated and concerned that the racism label on his school record will harm his future goals or receiving a track scholarships. He said, so how is illegal alien so bad or mean? Are we allowed to say obese anymore? In the medical community, if you are a child, we call you a child. Should we call you an adult if you're 5? So that's just, an angle. The school just exposed how racist the entirety of the school board is by automatically assuming that an illegal alien is Hispanic. So illegal alien is an actual term used to describe people who are illegal. So the leftist teacher should stop trying to ruin an innocent kid's life. So I think mama should just sue for a very large amount and stop worrying about your boy.
Speech. Yes.
Yeah. Stop 100%. Worrying about your boy. You just got his college tuition paid.
Yep. You pay out of pocket after you sue that district into the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was asking a question. I think he was set up. I think he's probably, my insight to this. Well, I can see that he probably was maybe set up by the teacher. Why would she, say illegal alien? She said alien. Use the term alien. Why would she use that term? It's just odd. So anyway.
Well, we have to remember that illegal aliens, they're not really illegal aliens. They're just green papers challenged. They don't quite have the, not to get racist, but they don't have the language skills to, actually apply the proper way and do things legally. That's why they have to go into indentured slavery to cartels to pay off a lifetime of debt to get across the border illegally.
Yep.
So we should call them illegal aliens. I just call them, criminals.
Criminals. Oh man.
All right. So this next story, we're gonna have to do some music. We're gonna need a musical cue. So here we go. Let's see. Where is that? There we go. Here, there's a theme to this song. Okay. So, in a magical land
one evening
called the Candy
sun went down and
filled with
fire was burning.
peppermint trees,
Down the track came a
a bluebird sings.
Boys, I am not turning. I'm
In
headed
this
for a
land,
land
this
that's far
beautiful
away,
land,
beside
filled
the
with
crystal
sunshine.
fountain. So come with
The jobless
me, we'll
numbers
go and see
live.
the big rock candy
And the jobless
mountain.
numbers,
In the big rock
are great.
candy mountain.
now this
There's a
is
land
according
that's
to the
fair
land
and bright,
in which
where the
the
handouts
secretary
grow
lives.
on bushes.
It's not
and
really
you sleep
reality.
out every night.
It's in a
where
land
the
that's,
boxcars all are empty.
it's more
and the sun
imagination
shines
and
every
aspiration
day.
than it really
On
is
the birds
reality.
and the bees and the cigarette
Now,
trees,
Talk
the
to me
lemonade
a little
springs
bit
where the
more about
bluebird
that,
sings.
my friend.
Oh man. So the jobless numbers that the government gives us are so fake. How is it possible that initial claims of jobless benefits have been exactly the same for 5 of the past 6 weeks? So this guy, Jim Bianco, the head of Bianco Research, was the first to call attention to this, the absurdity of getting exactly the same number for 5 of the past 6 weeks. There is no way that this is statistically possible. They're cooked. The numbers are cooked. Washington has got so lazy that they aren't even bothering to change the fake numbers that they're giving us. But at this point, the charade has become such a farce that even CNBC has published an article about this, even though large companies are conducting large layoffs all over America, weeks after we are given a laughable number that indicate that everything is just fine. Of course, it isn't just fine for the past few months that we have been given fishy numbers. So for a couple of years, jobless claims have stayed within a certain range, no matter what has been happening in the real economy. I simply do not have faith in any official numbers that they give us. Remember, I gave the brief list of big companies that were laying off thousands. Remember that? And now they're even more. We see this blip of numbers. The unemployment rate is supposedly at 3.8%. That is a number that has been so manipulated that it's essentially become meaningless. So a little education. If you are not working, you're put into one of two classes, okay? One of two categories. Either you are classified as unemployed or you're classified as not in the labor force. So the current stats were almost 6.5 million are unemployed, and 99.989 million were considered to be not in the labor force. So when you add those two numbers up, you get more than 106 million adults that do not have jobs right now. During the Great Recession of 2008 to 2009, that combined figure never reached 90 million. So we're at 106, and it never reached 90 back then. We had a horrifying unemployment crisis in 2008, 2009, and yet today everything is just fine. So we are being gaslit hardcore. So the real crisis is we are in the terminal phase of the largest debt crisis in the history of the world. We're stealing gigantic mountains of money from future generations of Americans in order to make the present more pleasant. This debt cycle is coming to an end, and the crash that is ahead of us is going to be far more horrible than most people would dare to imagine. So just once again, popcorn.
Yeah. And, you know, as long as we keep feeding the system the way that we do, they're not going to, I mean, can you imagine a day when a senator or a congressman or even a executive officer in the executive branch woke up and said, you know, I think I need to spend within the funds that we actually take in as far as taxes and not spend, for 70 years in the future. Can you imagine a universe in which that actually happens? Because I can't. Not now. It's crazy. It's nuts. No, this is even more crazy. People of New York were shocked. Now, why were they shocked? Because even though Trump is going through the ringer of this corrupt, absolutely biased Justice Department, he takes time to visit a bodega in Harlem. Talk to me a little bit about that, my friend. So crowds in New Yorkers swarmed the store to get a glimpse of Trump. But he made appearance at a Harlem bodega, and he chose this bodega. He strategically picked this bodega as a worker there was attacked by an assailant who was not charged thanks to the pro-crime anti-American Attorney General Elon Bragg. But this area of Harlem is not a safe neighborhood by any means. So Donald Trump walks into what the world would consider the hood, and on short notice in a city that supposedly hates him. I guess the people no longer hate Trump. The people now see Trump on a personal level. They also see that he has become, just like them, a victim of the corrupt justice system. So this is kind of a relational thing. Remember when Biden said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black? Well, Biden's team wanted to replicate Trump's bodega visit and ushered him into a Sheetz, Sheetz store in Pittsburgh. There were no crowds. He was not personable and simply shuffled to the counter, and the people were not lining up to be photographed him. Like when you see the Trump video, we're going to show a Trump video at the end. You're going to see tons of people that came out to see him. This 8% approval rating was overtly apparent. So then Biden's team tried to replicate the same scene at a Wawa store in Philly. The Secret Service first entered the Wawa store, telling the cashier that Biden would be ordering and leaving a tip, and hoping to have the entire stage performance on display. Again, the people were unfazed, and the public stunt failed. So Biden is losing favor with demographics that mainly vote blue. Same scene where he's not warmly welcome in blue cities, even when events are carefully staged. Trump, on the other hand, is warmly embraced by the people. It's crazy to see New York maybe get a chance to turn purple, if not red. So the media portrays him as being hated, but that's just fake news. So the only people that hate Trump are anyone but Trump voters. Don't necessarily like Biden, but dislike Trump and can't, be persuaded otherwise. Alvin Bragg has done great things for the Trump campaign. So the media hones in on Trump's every word when he leaves the courtroom. He receives coverage daily by every press agency as a reporter his every move. So it's crazy what we're seeing right now, because they're causing him to stay in New York, right, for his trials. Yeah. It occurs to me that every person that hates Trump more than they love the United States are exactly the same as the BLM riders that are willing to burn the cities and the country to the ground.
Yes.
Because they hate Trump more than they love the country.
Great observation. Yep. And that's, yeah, it's unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate.
I mean, I'm not a Trump fan. I'm right there with Jacob. And you're probably the same. You know, we see Trump for what he is. You know, he's.
I mean, I'm not a Trump fan, but I'll tell you what, I do like people going nuts when Trump does something that is completely reasonable, and people lose their minds.
They lose their minds. I know. I love it too. Oh man!
So I can't say I'm a fan of Trump, but I'm a fan of some of the things he's done.
Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you on that. Yep.
Now, this next story, again, this is the duplicity of the mainstream media. Here we are in 2024. We've had another shooting, this time from another protected minority. Yep. So you don't hear anything about it except from people, most mainstream people would call us conspiracy theorists and right-wing nuts.
Yeah.
But no one is reporting this. Ken, another trans shooter has just attacked.
Yeah. No, now she playing a he didn't. Yeah, she playing a he. That's so this is another one. They busted her before she did anything. So that's in fact, an elected official pushed back against a reporter during the press conference and said it's not a crime to be transgender, and that's a whole side story that they were just trying to. The reporter was simply asking why the official omitted the aspiring shooter's gender identity. He didn't even talk about it. So her name is Andrea Yee, and she was posing as a guy. In her manifesto, she wrote that she wanted to be a serial killer because they are romanticized a lot more. That's quote. So basically, the reporter was asking because of the mass casualty events that occurred in Aberdeen, Maryland, Denver, Colorado Springs, and Nashville in recent years. Those are all transgender or gender confused people attacking. Remarkably, most of these individuals are female turned fake male, which is unusual. So Abigail Schreier, I don't know if you remember that book that she told us 10 years ago, Irreversible Damage. Do you remember that book that she wrote? But she talks about the, transgender, leading to this, and a sidebar. Male teenagers can barely keep it together when testosterone hits the system, and they are designed to receive it. So a female by nature are simply not meant to and are unable to process an onslaught of this. And, the male hormones, I experienced it with when I dated bodybuilders back in the day, women, in my early 20s, I dated a couple bodybuilding women. I experienced, the irrational, they're just, I can't explain it. So we need to keep resisting this whenever and wherever possible. So it's a mental illness, and instead of addressing it, our whole gender dysphoria issue, we as a culture are being asked to celebrate that mental illness as normal. And we tell the rest of us that, they tell the rest of us that we are crazy. So we are hateful and wicked because we refuse to play along with this mass delusion. So anyway, given the fact we are already have so many young people already afflicted by mental health issues that were much less common in earlier generations, is anyone surprised that there is a percentage of people who identify as transgender or non-binary and they completely go off the rails? So especially if they've been loaded up with hormones by medical establishment, that should know better. So it's madness. It's madness.
Newsflash, the people who should be sued are the manufacturers of, I guess it would be transgender testosterone.
Yeah,
testosterone for women.
Regular it's testosterone that you give. It's what I took when I was bodybuilding.
Yeah. So malpractice against the pharmaceutical. It'd be malpractice against any doctor,
the medical establishment
prescribes it to a person that ends up being a mass shooter. A. B.
Yeah.
You sue the pharmaceutical companies that manufacture it. The victims of violence from a trans shooter or activist that turns violent, all of this needs to go directly against the manufacturers of these drugs. These drugs, they're supposed to be clinically tried. They're supposed to be tested. There needs to be studies done on the effect of testosterone in women. Period. End of story.
Yeah. I actually have the kids, this is a future story that we're going to do, but they're begging to have their body parts put back on. I'm getting ahead of myself, but it's a crazy interview, but we're gonna cover that in a couple more stories. It's crazy that it's nuts.
Now we have two videos that we're going to show back to back.
Yeah.
And I know that, again, here on Ken's Corner,
This is 9 years ago. This is 9 years ago.
They were talking about climate change yesterday, and now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Extraordinary seeing Al Gore and Bill Clinton there together with Charlie, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, they did not get into this discussion, though. But it is fascinating. I mean, lasers, really, to change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
Go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam.
So what does it mean for drought areas that need to have rain for crops? And if they don't have them, there's the consequences of famine.
Well, the bad news is if it's a clear blue sky, it's not going to do anything at all, because it only takes water vapor that's already in the air and condenses it. However, for floods, for agriculture, farmers, for people planning wedding parties, football games, you name it, outdoor events and agriculture and flooding and even hurricanes, all of them could be subject to weather modification.
Incredibly interesting, Professor Michio Kaku. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, whether you're trying to change the global temperature so it goes up, whether you're trying to increase carbon dioxide, or you're trying to blame it on cows that are farting, we can change the weather.
Yep, and they've been doing this since the 30s, man. They've been dropping dry ice into hurricanes and steering them, and I can only imagine what they have now. So sorry guys, it's not a conspiracy. It's not.
They control the weather.
Yeah, they can control. And it's part of the last days, man.
Yep. They still won't.
In Revelation 11, it says, "I will destroy those who destroy the earth."
They're destroying the earth by making
anyway,
water.
This Dubai flooding. Yeah.
My point is
definitely.
They are changing the global patterns of precipitation for their own means, and whoever can pay for the water gets the water.
Exactly. So they did too much water though in Dubai. So flooding, it was earlier this week, but they ordered people to stay home, and the city got 2 years of rain in 24 hours, 2 years in one day. So the flash flooding crippled the city. They got 6.26 inches in one night. They usually get 3.14 inches the whole year. So they asked everyone to stay home, but no one obeyed. So the road and highways look like rivers and stalled cars everywhere. So the Dubai airport, which it's also the second busiest airport in the world, and they had to suspend flights, and it came to a standstill. But this is like Death Valley, which is gets about 2.2 inches a year, and I mean 6.36 inches in one 24-hour period. So, and flood mitigation isn't something that you discuss at a building planning meeting out there. So now, of course, I believe it's geoengineering related, and it's just like the snow in China, that they caved in all the roofs, and they're back in 2008. So then they just, it's there, guys. Sorry. It's not conspiracy. Sorry.
Almost as futile as trying to convince a climate change supporter about the reality of the government changing climate, not pollution. If we're talking about man-made climate change, we're talking about the government changing the climate, not drinking from a plastic bottle. Now, almost as futile, the U.S. is going to try to save handwriting. Yeah. And I say, good luck.
Good luck. So, America's fight to save handwriting from extinction as IQs begin to fall for the first time ever. And teachers warn some 20-year-olds can't even sign checks anymore. So some Americans report they hadn't written a note or a personal letter in 5 years. So several U.S. states are trying to prevent handwriting from going extinct as classrooms increasingly swap pen and paper for tablets and computers. So handwriting is considered a fine motor skill that stimulates and challenges the brain, but schools are turning to technology instead. So here's my handwriting, right? So I have 20 pages that I write every week. So studies have revealed the IQ scores have dropped for the first time in a century. Teachers, parents, and experts who were interviewed said they were seeing kids and young adults who don't even know how to sign their names or read cursive. So when I've seen that, I've seen kids that can't read cursive. So experts have urged schools to reintroduce cursive into the curriculum, citing the need to understand historical documents. All the historical documents are all written out. So last year, the researchers at University of Oregon and Northwestern University reported that IQ scores have dropped because technology shortens attention spans and decreases the need to think deeply. When writing by hand, most of the brain is active. So writing requires the brain to communicate between its active parts. So schools stopped teaching cursive writing in 2010 when most of the Common Core standards, they adopted those. They deemed cursive writing as old-fashioned. So all I can say is if handwriting becomes extinct, it would be a major loss to understanding history or even connecting to our past. So you see all these documents that are written in script, right? And most people can't read those. Most kids.
I mean, I can't read my doctor's prescriptions either. So
no, that's different. That's different, man. IBID or whatever. IBID. I mean, the IBID. That's what I remember.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Stephen Furtick and his Easter sweater. I came up with a name for it, which I won't share, but I will show you the picture. And let me just say,
oh man.
You want to talk about a person who donated all of his testosterone to transgenders. Here you got the poster child.
So I just saw this article, and it was his Easter sweater. And I know Easter was almost a month ago, but his outfit is still generating online conversation. So anyway, on Easter, Furtick preached a message entitled Something in Between. Some excerpts from the message. Here's a quote. everybody in here has got a grave God is calling them away from. And here's another quote. Everybody in here has got a place in you, a place in life, a place you can't stay, and a long way to go. So just deep theology, man, I'm telling you. So I guess he was speaking from a perspective of the disciples at Jesus's empty tomb. So anyway, Furtick's sermon drew online criticism, as often it does. Protestia posted a clip of Furtick's message on Twitter, X, calling it a train wreck of narcissism. If you wanted to know someone who makes Jesus's resurrection story about you, where his grave represents your depression and failure and Galilee represents a better life you want to live, then you go no further than the caption of the posted said. So now to the sweater. Joel Berry, Babylon Bee's managing editor, said, "Why is he wearing my grandmother's sweater?" So not only quip about the salmon-colored grandma's sweater, it wasn't the only quip. So online watchdog group that documents high-cost fashion choices of America's mega church pastors said that Stephen Furtick's sweater had a $2,000 price tag. So, and one person on Twitter said, I loved it. Bro's sweater has more holes in his theology than his theology. Thought that was a great quote.
Yeah.
But I missed it. I didn't see it.
I don't think
Plus, it was 3 weeks ago when I talked to you guys.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Yep.
Stephen Furtick. What a guy.
We could go off on him.
We could. In Great Britain, this next story, we have 2 police officers that decided to show up to check up on someone that posted. Did he post something online?
Yeah. Okay. He posted. So it was a guy who posted Christians need to stand up following the knife attack on the bishop. If anybody saw that live on Twitter. Mari Emanuel. But 2 police officers and a mental health professional showed up at his house in Great Britain. So the man was polite and told the cops to take a seat in his house before explaining to them, this is religious discrimination. You know that, don't you? Right now, because you won't be knocking on Muslims' doors if they have this conversation. And after asking officers to explain themselves why they were at his house, one of the cops said, people have raised concerns about your views. And he answered, yeah, so I'm an Orthodox Christian. What's up? And this scene highlights the draconian, system under which UK citizens, they've been living like that. Remember the girl that was praying at on the other side of the street of an abortion, and she was praying to herself. I mean, we're going to see more and more of this, and it should serve as a warning to Americans who are naive enough to say they'll never happen here, because it's going to. It's going to. I'm just trying to get people pray. It's happening fast, man. Everything's happening fast.
So I have a follow-up on the story. The mental health professional, a man by the name of Mohammed Ben Mohammed, claims that the man is bad-mouthing the only peaceful religion on earth and the only perfect prophet.
Wow.
I'm kidding.
Wow.
That's a joke.
You got
Sorry,
me.
that's just a joke.
Good. Oh, man.
Let's talk a little bit about another joke, which would be the Fed, the federal government. Federal government is so corrupt, so inept. I mean, you want to talk about an administration that has made senility probably its calling card. Yeah. The Fed gave work permits to the criminal illegal alien that killed Laken Riley. Yes, and I reported on this a couple weeks ago on Laken Riley's death, a couple weeks back or 3 weeks back. So even after discovering Riley's murder, I'm not going to say his name. They said his name. I'm not going to say his name throughout this whole little excerpt. Even after discovering Riley's murder had a prior criminal history, he was approved by DHS for a work permit. Let that sink in. So during a Senate budget hearing, Senator Josh Hawley read aloud the file on Riley's killer. I'm refusing to use his name, all right? So I'm not going to use his name, which he said senators only recently obtained, all right? Biden's expansive catch and release network purports to give parole to illegals on a case-by-case basis for a public benefit.
or humanitarian reasons. So that Rand Paul, said that. But Paul asked Mayorkas in the recent hearings, if detention capacity is a reason illegals are given parole, but Mayorkas said he would not comment on the case. So Mayorkas, I look at that guy and I say demon possessed. Why was Riley's killer paroled? Paul repeatedly asked Mayorkas. It was less than 3 months after securing a work permit he was charged with Riley's murder. So, and there's a quote, this is your policies in action, Hawley told Mayorkas. A criminal is permitted into this country on grounds flatly not permitted, flatly contradictory to the statute. He committed a crime against a child. This is what he was faced with. And then he gets a work permit. Then in February, he commits the heinous crime against Lake and Riley. So that's just an update on that. But it's not going anywhere. I'm just giving people intel, Yeah.
Mayorkas. Greatest politician of all time.
Yeah, there's something wrong with him. He's evil. You can just tell.
I think he's Fidel's cousin, right?
Yeah. Oh man.
I'll tell you somebody who is not Fidel Castro's cousin. That's Dr. Phil.
Yeah. No. Good segue.
The children on a recent Dr. Phil show are begging to have the body parts that were removed surgically back. Yes. And that's it's a bombshell interview, man. So this is what I was talking about earlier in our show. So gender clinics are committing the worst atrocities against children, and history will judge us harshly if it doesn't, and God will judge us harshly too if it doesn't stop. At these house of horrors, radical transgender theory becomes gruesome practice, leering bodies, mutilated, and children begging to have their body parts put back on within months of having these surgeries. So, and that's a quote, begging to have their body parts put on. So this revelation came from Jamie Reed, a whistleblower from the Washington University Transgender Center at St. Louis Children's Hospital, whose expose last February blew the lid off of this scandal. She spoke with Dr. Phil this past week, expounding on her experience in the morally and medically appalling industry. That's a quote. So Reed is no right-wing ideologue either. She is in fact married to a transgender, and she herself identifies as queer. She said she has witnessed a number of things that compelled her to speak out. Reed was in charge of patient oversight and intake between 2018 and 2022. We had patients contact us who were begging to have body parts put back on within months of having the surgeries. So, the thing that kept happening is every time I would raise a concern and ask about the protocols and ask about the guidelines, this is just how the industry works. If a child says they're trans, there's no question in it. We say, yep, you're trans. That would be, what would you like? So that's Reed still talking. So Reed also said girls in particular all had the exact same storyline. Reed also suggested that these girls were acting on a social contagion rather than an innate order, echoing what experts warned is happening to the growing number of females who long to be male. And we talked about this with the prior shooters. So the worst part of this whole scandal is that these macabre procedures are done by doctors, professionals whose traditional Hippocratic oath promises the first do no harm. I guess throw
not
away
anymore,
the Hippocratic
right?
oath.
So just
throw it away,
right?
Just
throw it away.
Meaningless.
Just butchers committing atrocities against children.
Anthony Fauci had no moral compass whatsoever when it comes to the Hippocratic oath.
Zero. So, kids not old enough to drink alcohol, drive, vote, buy a gun, or as any parent knows, has to be told to brush their teeth, but these kids can make decisions, life-altering decisions. It's nuts. So this barbarism has got to stop. But unfortunately, it's just part of judgment. It's just the judgment.
I mean, to your point, these doctors that are doing these surgeries, I'm afraid that those kids and the the mutilations that they're doing, in my book, they qualify as not only a mutilation, but those they're being violated, like by sexually. So statutory rape charges for every single physician that does these. They deserve every single surgeon that is willing to chop off a child's parts or alter them should be on the sex offenders registration list.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. Yep.
See, that's a moral and rational stance.
Yes.
I know that people aren't used to that, but that's a moral and rational stance.
They are not used to that. Oh man, we got to keep people used to that because that's what we used to be used to. That's what we used to be used to.
Let's also talk about this next story, which this goes hand in glove with why we have these insane doctors doing these things to children. These procedures exist because of this very next story's facts. The church, the people in the pews, they are all asleep while the pulpits are wide awoke.
Yes, wide awoke. And you know, when did woke become the norm for the pulpits? So it's a little rant I have here. When I'd read about last day's events, I used to wonder how it would ever happen, what it would look like, right? So I believe we're seeing it totally lived out before our eyes. I think it is it's exciting, you know, and a little bit hairy, but I see so many prophetic events converging right now. So yet when I speak with my peers, even pastors, so it seems they are all sleeping, not concerned about events unfolding right before us. I cannot tell you how many people tell me only pastors who, the only pastors who go deep into God's word and explain how to apply to what's happening in our world are online. So, and that's kind of what we start our little group, that we have 10 people at our little church that we formed. And they cannot find a physical church where they can be part of a real like-minded community of believers who understand the days we live in. The Christian pulpits have gone silent at a time when we need to be blowing the trumpet the loudest. When did the church slide away from prophetic and prophecy events? So a Barna research study found that only 9% of all born-again believers have a Christian worldview, and that's shocking. So
that's a judgment.
There's a remnant. Yeah, that's crazy shocking. There's a remnant of believers who want to be awake and help sound the trumpet of the soon return of Christ and the coming judgment to this word. How did we get here? Was there a tipping point? Yes, there was. It was the jab and COVID-19. You can excerpt that if you need to. When the churches decided to close. So, and when they reopened, many churchgoers have shared with me that wokeism had become the new religion. So, and themes of sermons related to social justice and equity. The key phrase was, we had to be tolerant. Do not offend anybody. And I got a couple verses about offenses. 1 Corinthians 1:18, for the word of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to those who are being saved, it is the power of God. And 1 Corinthians 1:23 also, but we preach Christ crucified, a stumbling block to Jews and a folly to Gentiles. So years ago, the seeker-sensitive movement compromised biblical values and truth and replaced them with entertainment. We see that the focus was no longer to be salt and light. There was a type of universalism in the modern church. All will be saved, regardless of belief. And as of October 7th, Israel has been part of the news, but not part of the most pulpits haven't talked about it. Also, we see research from the shows that amillennialism has become the prominent view of most churches. This teaching directly relates to replacement theology. So, one scripture that to the church and not the world. I'm going to share this. 1 Timothy 4:1. But the Spirit explicitly says that in latter times some will fall away from the faith, paying attention to deceitful spirits and doctrines of demons. And I'll finish with this. So 2 Timothy 4:3 and 4. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but wanting to have their ears tickled, they will accumulate for themselves teachers in accordance to their own desires, and will turn away their ears from the truth. Turn away their ears from the truth, and will turn aside to myths.
Wow, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it does. It's like the Bible. Read the Bible. It's in there. What's happening?
No,
it's
because the Bible's not woke.
Oh,
if they read the Bible, they're going to be offended. It's the message of the cross. It's a stumbling block.
Offenses must come. Yep.
Talking about something that is absolutely offensive to me, the fact that we have an Australian senator who thinks he's important enough in the world scheme of things to jail a citizen of our country, Elon Musk. And why? Because he dares to allow for freedom of speech on his platform. Yeah.
Australian senator demands Elon Musk be jailed for allowing free speech on Twitter. So it's a female. So I know I said Jackie Lambie and it sounded male. So Elon Musk has no social conscience or conscience whatsoever, she said. And quite frankly, the bloke should be jailed, is what she said. So the feud between Australia's tyrannical lawmakers and Musk began after a Syrian Orthodox bishop in Sydney was stabbed by an Islamist during the live stream sermon. The country's social media regulator then ordered X, Twitter, to remove content showing the stabbing or face a fine of $500,000 a day. And Musk refused to comply. So even the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, called Musk an arrogant billionaire who thinks he's above the law. Musk responded to the Prime Minister's remarks by saying, "No president, no prime minister or judge has the authority over all the earth." That was awesome. Since the COVID pandemic, widespread censorship has become a feature, not an exception, of social media discourse in Australia. So that's crazy. That's nuts. He said no.
Yeah, I say no too. In fact, I say Australia, please don't elect this person anymore.
No.
Send them and make them work.
Poor Davey.
Yeah, poor Davey. He
sees it every day.
He lives in a nut house. I wish he could come to the U.S.
The whole West is, but it's coming here too. Yeah. It's coming here too. Yeah.
I just realized how the idiocy of my statement just then.
You're like, you should come here.
Oh wait,
no, it's coming. Oh man.
All right, here's our news blast. It's a bunch of videos. Here we go. We'll comment a little bit on each one.
Yep.
The White House telling Fox Business it's now considering declaring a national climate emergency. But that's a climate crisis to you, Mark. The AP, which sets the standards for newsrooms across the country, they're urging Americans to use the term climate crisis to address the current situation. This is all troubling, but if the president declares a climate emergency, what impact does that have?
Well, I mean, this is the serious story of the day. NBC News has reported that if Joe Biden declares a national climate emergency, he would have COVID-like powers under that emergency, and they also compared the emergency powers to the 9/11 emergency powers. The Center for Biological Diversity has estimated Joe Biden would get about 130 wartime-like powers by which to bypass democracy and impose a Green New Deal on America without a single vote of Congress. This is truly this is a Halloween story, not a story for Earth Day. This is a truly frightening story, and he might just be desperate enough to do it. This is being widely reported in the media. The Biden White House is leaking this out. This might happen, and this is going to give Joe Biden these kind of, you want to say the word dictatorial powers. He doesn't need no stinking democracy to impose the Green New Deal if he does this.
Yes. Now, my comment, Ken, and you can comment as well, of course, is that, like Rahm Emanuel says, every crisis is something we can use to grab further power. And Michio Kaku, we created the climate crisis. Yeah. So now we need to take away your voting right and democracy to be able to fix the crisis we created.
It's funny how it all connects, huh? It's funny how it all connects. Yep.
Yeah.
And God's in charge.
Shall we go to the next one?
Yep, go for it.
All right, here we go.
This is amazing. This is amazing.
Yes, here we go. Now, this
is loony bin.
This is great.
So I wanted to come on here and talk about something that is really starting to annoy me. So I applied for a job at TJ Maxx a few weeks ago, and they denied my application. They couldn't even call me. They just sent me some automated email. So I went in today and I was like, so what was the reason I didn't get hired? And she was like, oh, like you just like don't have enough experience. There was candidates that had like more experience than you. And, you know, I asked her if it was about my tattoos, obviously, because I know a lot of places don't like tattoos. She said that wasn't the reason. I don't feel like that's true, but whatever, I'll leave it at that. So I'm just wondering how, like, teenagers and young adults who haven't had a job before, how are they supposed to get employed if these places are only hiring people with experience? So younger people just can't get a job because they haven't worked enough? So, like, they'll deny a 16-year-old a job because they don't have enough work experience. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, if you have a satanic goat head on your chest with a pentagram on its forehead, or if you have a demonic spider, chances are it's going to be hard to find a job outside of Hot Topic or a head shop. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I guess maybe in a dispensary.
Yeah, go to a dispensary. Go. Know your
clientele.
Yeah, know your intel.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Ridiculous. You signed up for not being able to work in regular retail when you decided to paint on your body demon goats.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Enough said. Oh, man.
All right, here we go. We have this wonderful ad that.
Oh, man.
We're almost there. You're going to make it.
Trump Republicans want to criminalize young Alabama women who travel for reproductive care.
Miss, I'm going to need you to step out of the vehicle, take a pregnancy test.
Stop them by taking action at righttotravel.org. Campaign for Democracy Group is responsible for the content of this advertising.
All across the country, healthcare clinics that provide abortions are being shut down by extreme Republican politicians. In state after state, fundamental freedoms are vanishing. Women are under attack. But this November, we say not here. Prop 1 will enshrine reproductive rights in the California Constitution. So clinics remain open.
Why? Because it's a sin before God.
Why?
Wow.
Stinky breath.
Yeah,
Why?
that's pretty evil of you, sir.
Yeah, I am.
And I hope and pray that you.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you do to babies, huh?
Yeah, I love it.
Abortion remains legal.
People want attack cards these days because they've been very good at getting cards on the lower tiers. We know that, so I'm not going to crush that part. I'm going to basically crush below, I'm going to crush above, and I'm going to see if I can get it attacked.
California remains a freedom state forever. Yes, on Prop 1.
They're advertising to call for more abortion in the state.
Yep. Oh, man. Maranatha.
Lord Jesus, please come soon.
Amen.
Let's take a look at the next video we got. We got 25 ways the United States are being destroyed.
In less than 2 minutes. Explained.
Warning to America. 25 ways the U.S. is being destroyed in under 2 minutes. 1. Open borders and illegal immigration. 2. rampant crime in unsafe cities. 3. Mass addiction and fentanyl. 4. Election insecurity and interference. 5. The educational indoctrination of children. 6. The asymmetrical weaponization of justice. 7. The destruction of private property rights. 8. Inflation and debt. 9. The global depopulation agenda. 10. Record low fertility and plummeting birth rates. 11. Unaccountable federal bureaucracies. 12. Toxic food supply. 13. Vaccine and pandemic disinformation. 14. The trans contagion and sterilization of children. 15. Overprescription of pharmaceuticals. 16. Destruction of the nuclear family and parental rights. 17. DEI and the new racism. 18. Moral and societal decay. 19. The financing of endless foreign wars. 20. The sprawling surveillance state. 21. The centralization and consolidation of government power. 22. The destruction of trust in institutions. 23. The censorship industrial complex. 24. State media propaganda. 25. The smearing of those who challenge it.
Mission log 2050-01.
And Paul Harvey's right. We're getting exactly what we deserve. We elect these people that are totalitarian.
Yep.
So this is the crowd that Trump was seen with at the bodega, right?
No, I think he was just driving away from the bodega.
That's a lot of people.
Compare that one to the Biden.
Here we go with Biden's.
Let's see Biden.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
5.
This is
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15,
and Trump was just driving by. And that's a promise of Biden going and speaking there at the college. That's how many people should.
Don't worry. Each one of those 16 person will vote about 100 times.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Here we go with the vote of betrayal from our good, wonderful Speaker Johnson. Here we go. We got part 1. A bunch of old people that are not going to send their children to fight, but are waving flags for all the money
in Congress.
And here we go. Here's the vote. Caring for more death in Ukraine. Kill more people. We love death. We love blood. Now there's center front, waving the flag right on cue, making sure she's getting her money. Yeah. $60 billion to the good old military.
Yeah, $60 billion to Ukraine.
Military industrial complex. Now, here we go with our final news blast story. Yep. Here you go. This is passes for education of children.
Hi, I'm Gulliver, and this is Emmett.
Hey!
Oh, hi. I'm Barry.
Oh, hey!
We are so excited you're here. We could use another dog.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice collar.
Oh, thank you. I like it.
So, what do you want to do first? Find a chew toy? Oh, chase our tail? Oh, I know. Let's sniff.
No, actually, I like to play with yarn. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. Or I like to clean my paws like this. And you clean your face too. Yeah. Or we could practice purring like this.
Purring?
Yeah. And we could try to meow.
What?
Meow. Like that. It's great fun. You should try it.
Why not?
Yeah, let's go.
Excuse me, would you? I have to go for a second. I'll be right back.
No problem.
Miss Madison?
Oh, hey, Gulliver, you're back. Did you find Barry?
Yeah, we've got to talk.
He seems like a nice guy.
Oh, great guy. He thinks he's a cat.
He thinks he's a cat.
Yeah, he's over there talking about yarn, and purring, woof, and licking.
Well, that's okay, isn't it?
Well, I think you should talk to him.
About what?
Well, about being more like a dog.
Gulliver, you're really struggling with this.
It's weird.
It's not weird, just different. I couldn't ask Barry to change who he is. That would make him really sad.
But
Gulliver, accepting people for who they are is a very important skill. We accept you for who you are.
That's different. I'm a dog who acts like a dog. That's normal.
Not normal, just more common.
I don't understand.
It's okay to have questions. Questions are good if they help you to accept someone for who they are.
Now, usually I'm a huge dog lover. And the last thing I want to see is to put down a dog. In fact, It was very hard for me to put down my last dog. But in the case of the dog that was purring and pretending that it was a cat, I might do it. Oh, what is this world coming to, my friend? What is this world coming to where this passes as something we want to teach kids that is something
to fourth graders. Fourth graders at Bramlett Elementary School in Georgia. In Georgia, which is supposedly it's supposed to be a red state.
Red state, and that passes as something that we want to teach kids. Whatever's not normal, kids. That's what we should be most acceptant of. Okay. So the verse of the week, ladies and gentlemen, because this can only go up from here after watching those videos, is very simple. It's Romans 10:9-13. If you declare with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. Amen. For it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you profess your faith and are saved. As the scripture says, anyone who believes in him will never be put to shame. For there is no difference between Jew or Gentile. The same Lord is Lord of all and richly blesses all who call on him. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. Now, granted, I'm going to go by what Jesus said elsewhere as well. You know, when quoting the prophet Isaiah, your mouth and your heart have to be in alignment with each other. You can't say, Jesus save me, and don't make him Lord. You need to do both. Or accept both.
Yes.
And that's the scripture of the week. Ken, close us out.
Well, I'm happy that I'm back. I'm happy that I'm still alive. I guess the Lord wants me to stay around for a little bit longer after the heart surgery and stuff. And I just want everybody to don't lose hope, because there's hope in Jesus. All right. That's the bottom line, because a lot of our stories are kind of negative stories, but we kind of joke with them, because the millennium and everything's coming, and Jesus is going to be in charge, and that's going to be an awesome time. That's going to be a fantastic, awesome time. So keep your faith, keep it in Jesus, and we'll see you next week.
Amen. See you next week.